Hello, this is Wild Phil Jarrett coming at you from the unhappiest state in the U.S. of A., West by God, Virginia. This just in, an EMT has been fired after refusing to help a baby. Now, I've had EMT training, and I'm pretty sure we covered that the first day of class. This just in, there's more news from the outside world, the Flatlands. Upon hearing Grease was running out of money, Broadway actors leapt to put on a telethon to raise funds. They rapidly lost interest when they found out it was the country and not the musical show. This just in from Colorado. 9 out of 10 potheads have quit smoking marijuana. The 10th pothead thinks there's another hit in the bowl. And finally from Petaluma, California, Quasimodo has been crowned the world's ugliest dog. Now, I don't know nothing about ugly dogs, so I asked my dog Suki, and Suki looked at him and said, I'd do him. So it can't be all that ugly. Either that or Suki's got really low standards for a dog. She's a short dog, so she probably has low standards. I'm a short guy, I definitely have low standards. I'll keep talking until I say something funny, won't I? Okay. Alright, I have a portion of tonight's show is called I'm Going to Sing and Other Threats. This is Wild Phil Jarrett. I've sang before. And if you haven't heard me sing, I tell you you're in for a treat. Yes, indeed. But I want to sing a song that's been one of my favorites since back in the day when I first heard it. The band's song called The Weight. Now, there's been a lot of talk over the years. You know how rock music is. Nobody can hear the lyrics or understand them, and it takes you forever. It takes sometimes years for them to find out the lyrics of rock music. I swear they have philologists, people who study words, that are trying to dissect what the hell was Bob Dylan talking about half the time. They're working on this, though, and pretty soon we're going to have a complete transcript of for every song accurately and what they were saying. Even Bruce Springsteen's enunciation. I'm hooked on phonics. I got caught up at the transit mall last night trying to bow a vowel. That's how bad I'm hooked on phonics. Alright, enough of that. This is a song called The Weight. Now, this song has a lot of people talking about it over the years. Like I said, because the contents of the lyrics and some of the words aren't really decipherable. But I pretty much figured it out, you know. Now, I've heard from, who is the guy's name? Cards. I get all these cards all over the place, and I forget what I'm doing if I don't do them. You just, play with yourself or something. All right. Anyhow, this is the true story of The Weight. And you people who never heard this song before, I'm glad to introduce it to a new generation. It's an important work of American literature and curmudgeonry. That's another word off my list of words to say before I die. It's called The Weight. Now, The Weight is this tender song about this guy who shows up in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, the home of Martin Guitars, and he's carrying weight. Now, back in the day, you had the mules that brought in the dope from outside the country across the international borders, and they were the big guys. They were the guys with balls of steel. But The Weight is about the distribution in the United States of drugs after they're here, whether they're homegrown, made in the lab, or whatever. It's about distribution within drugs, the community in America. Now, this is back in the hippie days, so we all kind of just hung out together, and nobody really thought much about it. We didn't really have, on the street there, over someone's house. It gets time to go to sleep, you fall down, you go to sleep on the floor, and you wake up the next morning. Hopefully. If you don't, then he's got a dead hippie to take care of. But I digress. So The Weight is all about this guy who's running drugs around in the country, whatever you want to call him. Not a mule, maybe he's a jackass. We could call him jackasses. So this jackass comes into Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and he's got a load of weed. He's got a load of chemicals now, because this is on the way out. See, they came out of Cleveland, Detroit, and they sold chemicals on the way out, and then they bought marijuana down in the Keys and sold the weed on the way back up. You got a nice little flow on there. So it's kind of like a panther. Ooh, ooh. Okay, enough of that. But anyhow, this guy shows up and he's got weight. Well, the first thing that happened is he goes to the guy who was supposed to give him a crash pad to stay that night. See, I used to do this for the guys coming into town. And the guy says, hey, can I find a bed? And the guy says, no. And that's it. So he's stuck out on the street now, and he's got a backpack full of chemicals and LSD and cocaine and all this goody stuff we had back then. So he goes out looking for a place to hide. And he sees Carmen and this guy that he doesn't like, calls him the devil, and they're walking side by side. So Carmen says, he says to Carmen, come on, go downtown and help me sell this shit before I get picked up by the police. And Carmen says, I gotta go, I can't do this, but my friend here can help you out, the devil. Well, he didn't like the devil that much anyway, so he didn't think that's a very good deal, so he keeps moving on. It's all about this guy trying to find a safe place to the night because he's holding all this drugs in his backpack. He's going to get them all sold, or he's got to get to cover somewhere. So, then we got this verse about going down Miss Moses. There's nothing you can say. Well, here the thing is, we finally find out the drug dealer who's got that bag of weed, the weight, he's trying to get rid of him. He's going all over town. Well, he goes down and he calls Miss Moses up. And he says, this is Luke. And I'm out here and I'm waiting on the judgment day. In other words, I'm out here and I'm waiting for the cops to bust me and put my ass in jail. And Miss Moses says, well, Luke, my friend, have you tried Anna Lee's place? Yeah, you go over there and keep Anna Lee company, because you're saying this over an open line on the telephone, and you can't say these things out loud. So he says, my friend, why don't you go over and stay with Anna Lee? She'll help you out. Well, he gets out on the street, and he's going over to Arabic, but this crazy jester follows him. Now, not crazy jester like I always thought. It's Crazy Chester. He's a guy actually in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Fayetteville, outside of Nazareth. He was a mentally disabled guy who wore a cowboy hat and had cap guns on him like this and went around pretending he was sheriff of town. That was Crazy Chester. Had a bad toupee, too. So that was Crazy Chester. But he caught him in the fog. He caught Luke in the fog. Now, Crazy Chester is not a symbol for Crazy Chester. You got to understand that. Crazy Chester is a symbol for the police. So the police catch him in the fog. He's outside. And the policeman says, listen, I'll fix this for you. I'll fix your rag if you take down Jack, the dog. Now, everybody says, Jack, my dog, well, that's just talking about you want to take care of my dog. No. The cops are telling him, we got you cold. We want you to wear a wire and take down Jack. And Jack is a mean-ass son of a bitch. And this guy knows Jack's a mean-ass son of a bitch. And the first thing he says to Chester, the police, says, I'm a peaceful man. I don't want any part of taking down Jack the dog. And finally the cops said, okay, they give up. They can't get him to do it. It's too risky and all that. So they say, okay, but can you feed him when you can? Now, technically that means feeding him false information to set stings up. Right? But, also as a quid pro quo, basically you're asking him to be a snitch. Rather than wear a wire. All this is in the song. You people have heard this song all your lives, Listen more carefully next time. So, what he does, he gets out of jail. And he has to catch Cannonball now. This Cannonball is two things. One, Cannonball is a race. You've seen the Cannonball. I'm on those things again. I can't get over cannibals. They're everywhere in West Virginia. God, we got to do something about this problem. No, they Cannonball Run movies. And they had everybody in them, Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. and Burt Reynolds and Jerry Reed and all those good guys from back then. And they made a run from one corner of the state, one corner of this country to the other. It was an open road race, secret. And like an underground road race, except they're not racing on the ground, they're racing on top of the ground. So that's the cannonball. And it comes from a term that truckers used to use. When you would take off from Los Angeles and you drive to New York. Or either way, you know. And you made it all the way there, one sitting. And you had what was called your turnaround driver. And this is turnaround driver is this little black pill. Really stuff you don't want to fuck with. Black pills, the turnaround drivers, do not take one unless you've got nothing planned for the next couple of weeks. Or better yet, do not take one unless you've got something planned for the next 2 weeks, because you're going to be able to stay up and do it. That's the turnaround driver. So he catches a cannonball. Now that either means he gets a ride in a truck leaving town going back to Miss Fanny, or he takes a cannonball, literally, and he's speeding up and he's ready to get out of town now. So he's got to get out of town. He's got the cops on his tail. They're wanting to be a rat for them. So he's got to leave, you know. And finally, and plus his bag is sinking low. So this is the weight we've been talking about since the beginning of the thing. Along the way, he's managed to sell a little bit here and sell a little bit there. Now the cops let them out with enough in the bag so that he could keep doing his business. But it's low. He's running out of product to sell. So when you run out of product to sell, the first thing you do is you go back to home. In this case, he goes back to Miss Fanny. And he reminds the people, as he's leaving town, that she's the only one who sent me here with her regards for everyone. Now, regards meant LSD, cocaine, speed, all these things they made in those nice little chemicals in the factories in the north. So that's the meaning of this song. Now, what I'm going to do is sing it now. Maybe I should just stop there and tell you the meaning. I'll just read these things to you and you won't have to listen to my voice. All right. Here I'm going to sing. And under frets. I pulled into Nazareth, was feeling about half past dead. I just needed a place where I could lay my head. Hey, mister, can you tell me where a man might find a bed? He just grinned and shook his hand. No was all he said. Take the load off, Annie. Take the load for free. Take the load off, Annie. But this time you put the weight right on me. You put the weight right on me. I picked up my bag. Now I went looking for a place to hide. Now I saw Carmen and the devil walking side by side. I said, hey, Carmen, come on, let's go downtown. And she said, I gotta go, but my friend, the devil, can stick around. Take a load off, Annie. Take a load for free. Take a load off, Annie. This time, you put the load right on me. You put the load right on me. Well, go down, Miss Moses. There's nothing you can say. It's just old Luke. And Luke's waiting on the judgment day. Well, look, my friend, what about young Anna Lee? He said, do me a favor, son, won't you stay and keep Anna Lee company? Take the load off, Annie. Take the load for free. Take the load off, Annie. This time you put the load right on me. You put the load right on me. Crazy Chester followed me, and he caught me in the fog. He said, I will fix your rack if you'll take Jack, my dog. I said, wait a minute, Chester. You know, I'm a peaceful man. And he said, that's okay, boy. Just feed him when you can. Take a load off, Annie. Take a load for free. Take a load off, Annie. This time you put the load right on me. You put the load right on me. Got a cannonball now to take me down the line. My bag is sinking low, and I do believe it's time to get back to Miss Fanny. You know, she's the only one who sends me here with her regards to everyone. Take a load off Annie. Take a load for free. Take a load off Annie. This time you put the load right on me. You put the load right on me. Yeah, put the load right on me. And that's Phil Jarrett's rendering in the sense of tearing apart of the band's The Weight, and his explanation too, which is key to understanding this song, is to understand it's a drug song all along, like most of our songs were by hippies. I mean, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, Paul. Come on! You had the nerve to say that to me. What do you think to do with drugs? No, it's just a coincidence that LSD is there in the title. Yeah, Paul, really, get a grip. My favorite song of all time is the Eagles, Hotel California. And it's the most demonic song. I mean, you talk about these other guys, the rock groups, and yeah, we're bad guys, we're Satan's. We're gonna kill you. This is why I feel I'm possessed. That sort of thing. Okay. And you've seen them. And you got the little old Eagles out there. They're just sitting there strumming on their guitars, just chilling out in California sunshine in the afternoon, smoking a little weed, having a couple beers, you know, playing the guitars and trying to pick up chicks, because that's all people play guitar for is to try to pick up chicks or members of the opposite sex. With reference to one of my favorites, Melissa Etheridge, she plays the guitar, so she can pick up chicks too. So it's the same principle. Anybody who plays the guitar is trying to pick up chicks. Katie Lang, she's trying to pick up chicks. I'm not saying they're lesbians. I'm just saying they're lesbians, as far as I know. If that means those are not lesbians, you can call Wild Phil, and I will send out an apology to both of them. I've got no problem with lesbians. My first wife was a lesbian. My second wife is bisexual. You know, so I'm about as close to a lesbian as you can get without actually being inside one. Matter of fact, I have been inside one, but that's a totally different story. Way too much information about what goes on between me and my wife. Now, the next portion of today's show, we got the news out of the way. Now we got a humor. Just a little bit of humor. Now, Wild Phil Jarrett has an effort now to bring back the great American joke. I mean the long ones. So I'm going to tell you my favorite great American joke. See, down in Florida now, scientists were working on this secret lab in the middle of the Everglades for a method to extend life. And they found that they could extend the life of porpoises. Smart little, when I fish, smart little people who had good enough sense. When they walked out of onto the land with their legs, they took a look around, and they immediately went back into the ocean and lost their legs. These are the smartest creatures of all time. They refuse to become humans, and I applaud them for that. Any animal out there who doesn't want to evolve into a higher being has a right to stay right where he is. But I digress. So, here they are, and they're feeding these porpoises and keeping them alive. Now, what they feed the porpoises is an extract comes from seagulls. This is how they found out. They found out this certain population of porpoises were eating the seagulls, and they were living longer than the other porpoises. So they are feeding them the dead seagulls in order to keep the porpoises alive indefinitely. Okay? At the same time, in another part of the country, yes, over here, is the zoo. Florida Zoo. It's out in the middle of the Everglades, so it can be creatures can be close to swamps and stuff. Those are all yucky things, and they like to hang out in jungles and places like that. That's why we have zoos, so we don't have to get our feet wet going to see them, covered with mud and bugs and leeches and get on malaria and all that kind of stuff. We'll just put them in a zoo here. We can walk right in there, and if anybody gets infected with anyone, they're going to get infected from something we've got. Yes, sir. Sorry, man, I hit my table. So, here you go. You got the zoo out here. Now, the zoo's an older zoo, and it's falling apart. One day, they got a typhoon comes through and tears or a typhoon, or what, not that typhoon, a hurricane on that side of the world. Here I am completely on the other side of the world, and I'm trying to tell the joke in this side of the world. So here this is, hurricane comes through, and it knocks down the walls of the zoo, and all of the animals escape, and they're out in the Everglades. Now, back over here again, with the Florida people out there and the scientists out there, and they've got porpoises that they're keeping alive indefinitely. And all they need is dead seagulls to keep feeding them. So, there's they hired this trucking company. It's the Fluke Trucking Company, and their motto is, if it gets there overnight, it's a fluke. Yeah. And so they hired a Fluke Trucking Company to get the dead porpoises to the island and to the lab in the Everglades for the porpoises. Yeah. So they're hauling a load of dead seagulls. And lo and behold, one of the lions from the state zoo comes running out in front of their truck. They're just driving along through the forest. They're actually through the swamp. I keep forgetting where I am. Whew, I got to get a GPS on my dick. Anyhow, they're having the sort. They're driving along through there, and they're going to this secret lab. One of the lions from the state zoo runs out in front of them. They run right over it, just right over the top of him. Kill the lion. It's horrible. The police arrive, and they say, "This is incredible. You killed this lion." And he says, "Well, yeah, it just ran out in front of us. Well, I guess it's not your fault that that the lion escaped from the zoo." And they get into this whole argument about that. And the cop says, "All right, I'm going to give you a plea bargain here. What I'm going to charge you with, I'll give you a lesser charge so that you won't have to actually get a bunch of time in jail because it really wasn't your fault, Okay? So the lesser charge they put on them, the truck drivers, was, wait for it, transporting gulls across a dead lion for immoral purposes. Okay, that's the joke of the day. Transporting gulls across the state line for immortal purposes. My granddaddy was arrested for that too. He left West Virginia with a trunk full of hooch back in the 20s and 2 of his whores. And he got arrested in Roswell, New Mexico. It was for transporting girls. Well, in case they weren't calling them girls, but if anybody's seen a prostitute, calling them girls is really a stretch. Some of them are old enough to be your mama. Careful enough not to be. Well, of course, your mama may be a whore. I don't know. But enough of this. I've got one more trick to do. Yes, I have my laptop. This is Phil Jarrett, the Zoo. Yes, Wild Phil Jarrett brings you Wild Kingdom. Wild Phil's Kingdom. That's what I am. Wild Phil Jarrett's Kingdom. Now, the other night, I sat up and I showed you how I could take one word and make a whole story about it. Funny, yeah, probably, and I invited you to send me. Oh, I'm spilling my drink here. See, that's my drink. This is what I'm drinking in the middle of the night. Keep myself going.